Hello and welcome. I am Jane Hauser. I'm the Director of Marketing here at NESCA. Thank you for joining us today to talk a little bit about health and life coaching at NESCA. I will introduce you to Ann Helmus, and she is NESCA's founder and director and a clinical neuropsychologist, as well as Billy Demiri, health coach and personal trainer at NESCA. Just for some housekeeping items in the beginning, we will be keeping everybody on mute, and there will be a Q&A session at the end. So feel free to write in any questions that you have into the Q&A section, and just use the chat function for any kind of technical difficulties you may be having. So with that, I will send it off to Dr. Ann Helmus and Billy Demiri.
Great, thank you so much, Jane. I'm delighted to be here with Billy Demiri to tell you about health and life coaching that we're offering at NESCA. In my role as a neuropsychologist, I work with many adolescents and young adults. And one of the things that I often hear from parents is that they're really concerned that their teenagers or their young adults seem to either lack goals or that they don't follow through on the steps that would be necessary to meet the goals that they set. And so a lot of times when they're coming in for advice or coming in for an evaluation, they're seeking my advice regarding how they can help their teenager or their young adult to become more motivated to pursue the goals that they have. And I found this to be a particularly tricky sort of referral question. And so usually what I do is to sort of take the approach with parents of, as they say in medicine, do no harm. And so what I say to parents is that, unfortunately, what our intuitive approach is, which is nagging or rewarding or that kind of thing, those approaches not only don't work, but they actually usually make things worse. And the more that you nag a teenager, the more you try and get him to do something, the less likely he probably is to do it. Or if you set up reward structures or punishment structures, you can often affect short-term change, but it's not long-term. And so a lot of times I feel like parents are somewhat dissatisfied when they leave because it's an imperfect solution. Essentially I'm telling them you need to back off and let the teenager take more responsibility. And you may need to get another adult in there, whether it be a tutor or a personal trainer or a coach, possibly a psychotherapist, some other adult, and let them work with your teen. But parents nagging teenagers is probably the worst possible scenario to get teenagers to meet their goals. And so when Billy told me about the coaching program that he was doing, I was thrilled because I thought this may fill a gap that we have in service delivery. This may be one of the answers for working with adolescents and young adults in helping them develop their own motivation and their own accountability for follow through. So I wanted to just briefly let all of you know how Billy came to NESCA. I actually met him 4 years ago when I hired a personal trainer at a gym in Boston. And I realized very quickly that not only was he a great trainer, but that he was really a gifted teacher. And seeing how well he was able to teach me, I asked him if he would ever be interested in doing personal training with some of the clients that we have at NESCA who could benefit from the type of teaching approach that he took. And he was immediately interested. And the next thing I knew, he let me know that he was going to the Autism Fit certification course in New York. And that was sort of all his initiative so that he could work with kids on the autism spectrum. And so I was really impressed by how quickly he sort of took the reins and demonstrated his interest in learning more skills and learning more about kids on the autism spectrum. And so he subsequently came to NESCA about almost 3 years ago and quickly developed a huge following among NESCA clients and their parents. And many of the kids that he started with, he's still working with, which I think is really a testament to the type of relationship that he builds with them and the very positive changes that the parents are seeing. The other thing that really impressed me about Billy when I started working with him was his interest and his knowledge in a lot of topics that might fall under the umbrella of sports psychology. So those would be things like mental toughness, motivation, how you harness the mind, goal setting, those kinds of things. And he has woven those kinds of topics into the work that he's done with the kids at NESCA. And so I was really thrilled to hear from him that during the pandemic that he was going to spend his quarantine time doing an online health coaching certification course that would shore up his knowledge in these topics and give him more techniques for working with kids. And I thought that was terrific. And so when he was finished with his course, I decided to test drive the 12-week coaching course to see if it would be something that would make sense for us to offer at NESCA, and if I thought that it would be helpful for the adolescents and young adults who we work with. And so when I signed on for this with him, I thought that I probably wasn't going to learn a whole lot, because I've been a psychologist for 30 years and I'm really interested in these topics myself. And so I've done a lot of reading on my own. And I figured that I probably wouldn't gain that much personally from it, but that it would be a good way to figure out if this approach would be good at NESCA. And I was wrong. I learned a tremendous amount through the coaching, all kinds of techniques that I had not known before, and was also really impressed at how the coaching is very much based on what the research says about behavior change and habit change. And so the net results of my 12 weeks of coaching with him were: one, I lost 10 pounds and kept it off. So I've been thrilled about that. I signed up for a second 12-week coaching with him because I wanted to see how we could apply some of these same techniques to other areas of my life besides just weight loss. And the third was, I said, we have to have this at NESCA. This will be perfect for adolescents and young adults, so that we can get parents out of the picture, but know that they are getting the assistance and the support that they need to work away on their own goals. So that's how we came to be sitting here today. And I'm really thrilled that NESCA is able to offer this type of coaching, and in particular to have Billy Demiri offering this kind of coaching because of his ability to make relationships with the kids that we have here at NESCA. So Billy, please tell us about the health and life coaching.
Wow, but first off, I just want to say thank you for that amazing introduction. And before we begin, what I would like to start off with is a breathing technique. Now, this is called the 5-5-7 breath, and it's one of the many breathing techniques that I use with my clients to calm the body's central nervous system down and to feel clearer and calmer as a result. Now, we use breathing as a way to help calm the body and the mind and get out of fear and get out of anxiety and start to gain self-awareness so that we can learn to self-regulate our emotions. Now, I was actually using this technique right before the presentation to help me feel a little bit more grounded. So the cool thing is that it only takes about 2 minutes and you can start to feel the difference. So the way that it works is that you breathe in for 5 seconds, you hold for 5 seconds, and then you exhale for 7 seconds. So what I would like everyone to do is take a comfortable seated position with a nice straight back, and you can keep your eyes open or closed. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this while you're driving. And we're going to start off with a big exhale, and then breathe in for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and again breathe in for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And what I want everyone to do is repeat that cycle another 3 times on their own. Excellent. And now, as you start to come back, notice how you're feeling. I know I feel a lot calmer and a little bit more relaxed and grounded in my body after just doing 3 breaths with everyone. So what is health and life coaching? And just to give you guys a little bit more background, I've been a personal trainer for almost 10 years now. And what health and life coaching have brought is a whole nother tool to create lasting transformation. And this is in an individual's health, lifestyle, and the important thing is that it's going to be easy, it's got to be fun and sustainable. Because again, without those things, then making a change last is not going to feel good. And the way that we do this with the coaching method is on 3 different levels of change, where we work with behaviors, habits, which we're going to use interchangeably here. We work with beliefs and identity. So it's very important to note that habits, beliefs, and identity are all intertwined. And habits are going to be really hard to shift unless beliefs and identity start to change along with them. For example, what a parent may see is their child playing video games, not working out, waiting until the last minute to work on an assignment. But what they don't see is the underlying beliefs, such as it won't make a difference. It's too hard to get in shape. I'm going to be made fun of if I try. And then they start to identify by saying, I am not an athlete. I am dyslexic. I am not good enough. I am not smart. And with all that going on underneath, it's no wonder why changing a habit is going to start to feel like pushing a boulder up a hill. So the way coaching works is that it's going to intervene at all 3 levels to make changes last. And again, going back, that changing habits should be fun, it should be easy, and it should definitely feel good because we want to tie in positive emotions and positive feelings towards reaching that goal or whatever outcome the individual is going to have. So if a child begins to shift their beliefs to, I can do this, that it will make a difference, that it can be fun, and I'll make more friends as a result, then they're going to start to shift their identity to, I am healthy, I am smart, I am capable of anything. Then the habits like working out, eating a balanced diet, and getting schoolwork done are going to start to become automatic. So in order for lasting change to occur, we really have to start with habits first. And what are our habits? These are going to be automated and unconscious behaviors. And when we start to change habits and change them consistently, beliefs and identity are going to go along with it. And with every behavior, you're essentially casting a vote for who you want to be. Again, tying in to identity. So true behavior change is ultimately going to lead to identity change. And when change starts to happen at the identity level of I can do this, I am an athlete, I am smart, then again, taking action and changing our habits is going to start to become more and more automatic. So how do we start to change habits and make it feel good and fun? And this is all going to start with a 6-step transformational coaching process. And the steps are goal setting, stepping back, letting go, saying yes to self, taking empowered action, and then setting up accountability. And the first step of the coaching process is goal setting. Now, it's also really important to know that everyone has goals. And during this step, what we're doing is really uncovering an individual's goals and the why behind their goals, or what having their goals is going to do for them. What's going to be important about that? How is it going to feel once you reach your goal? So we're continuously tying in positive emotions and all in a way to start building more and more intrinsic motivation. Because the more intrinsic motivation we can build up, when you start to feel good towards reaching your goals, that's when taking action is going to start to feel a little bit easier. And it's also really important to understand that it's an individual's own goals. It's not coming from parents, it's not coming from teachers or friends. For example, I want to get in shape and lose weight. Well, what's going to be important about that? What's having that going to do for you? How are you going to feel once you reach that goal? And all of the goals that we're going to be setting are SMART goals. They're specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-oriented, because everyone is going to start off at a different level. And it's important to set specific goals. The second part of the coaching process is all about stepping back and gaining awareness, which is all about identifying what those self-defeating habits are. For example, what is keeping you from reaching your goals right now? And this is a really cool step, because once you start to develop self-awareness, you can start disassociating from the habits a little bit and opening up and seeing, okay, well, I'm eating junk food and playing video games, but my goal is to be healthy, get in shape, and lose weight. Okay, so we're just taking a look at them from now without tying any sort of feelings to them. And then the third step is ultimately one of the most important steps. And this is all about unwinding self-defeating behaviors and releasing those old limiting beliefs in order to create new ones. So what are old limiting beliefs? You know, where are these stemming from? A lot of times, a limiting belief, these are all fears, such as, you know, I got picked last on the dodgeball team, so I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to work out because it feels scary. You know, every time I go to the gym, I got made fun of. I was bullied. Other kids were laughing at me when I wasn't good enough. All these feelings that come up when we're trying to change certain behaviors. And at its core, as transformation is going to be a continual process of letting go. Now, this step is all about giving you a way to release old beliefs and start to create new ones. And the habit change coaching method is going to do this specifically by rewiring neural patterns. And we do this using techniques such as neuro-linguistic programming, mindfulness practices, breathing exercises, such as the one that we did in the beginning of the presentation, mental rehearsals, visualizations, meditation, and so much more. And the reason we do this is so we can tap into the body's autonomic nervous system. Because when those old limiting beliefs, such as I can't do this, I'm going to be made fun of, your body's going to react a certain way. That's a fear response. It puts the body into a sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight, flight, or freeze. So taking action in a place of fight, and freeze is really not going to be ideal. Nobody's going to want to take action there. So all these different tools that we're going to be using are going to put the body more into a relaxed state, into the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's how we're going to start turning that anxiousness into a little bit more excitement. And then the fourth step of the coaching process is to say yes to self. And this is all about anchoring new, empowering beliefs. So once we've let go of the dysfunctional beliefs, the I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I'm going to be made fun of, I'm going to be humiliated, that are no longer serving us, that's the point where we get to choose what we want to believe and who we want to be, right? Tying in beliefs and identity in a positive way, changing that from I can't do this to I can do this, to I want to do this, I get to do this. So we're constantly tying in more positive emotions towards reaching the goal. That again, that goal is being set by the individual. So we're still going to build up more intrinsic motivation using motivational interviewing, positive psychology, neuro-linguistic programming, the science of habit change, and so many more different techniques. Then, once we're in that empowered state, and again, not from a state of fear, doubt, or not enoughness. And once you feel completely grounded in yourself, in your truth, that's when you're in the perfect place to take action. And when we get to the feeling state of, I can do this, or I want to do this, because it's going to give me all these certain things in my life, and it's going to feel amazing. That's when we create weekly action steps. And those are all going to be goal specific and take you one step closer to your goals. And again, going back to a way that's going to be easy, it's going to be fun and sustainable. Because without those three things, going to be hard to change because it's not going to feel good. And the more consistent action we take towards doing something, towards reaching that goal, the better it's going to start to feel. The beliefs, the identity behind it are all going to start to get behind the actions that are being taken. For example, I've worked at many gyms and I've been around during New Year's resolutions and have seen multiple people start working out at the beginning of January, only to fall off in February and stop working out. And that's because they're missing steps 2, 3, and 4, where they try and start a fitness program or try and change their diet and nutrition. And they make it so hard on themselves. And they're coming from a state of, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, so now I have to change. And almost all the time, that is never going to lead to results. And the 6th step is setting up accountability. So once we've created that action step, then we're going to set up the type of accountability and conditions that make success inevitable. And going back to, small consistent actions are going to lead to much, much bigger changes. And, that's things like setting up a schedule, learning how to stay consistent, tying in nutrition and working out, meditating, journaling, breath work, mindfulness practices, mental rehearsals, visualizations, and so many more. And as you can see here, in the iceberg model, we have the habits, beliefs, and identity beforehand, and trying to change the habits when the beliefs are, and the identity, I am out of shape, I'm not good enough, it's too hard. Changing the habits are going to be really, really hard to do. But adding in all the different steps, going through the coaching process, again, tying in habits, beliefs, and identity together and letting them shift at the same time, that creates changes that are going to last. So who is coaching for? I'm really excited to be offering coaching for teens and young adults at NESCA. Those who want to lose unwanted weight, get strong, feel energized and confident in their body, improve their grades, make new healthy relationships, find a job, join a sports team. Most importantly, who want to overcome fear, anxiety, depression, lack of motivation, and start to become confident, happy, and excited about what they're doing. So what exactly happens during a coaching session? And all the coaching sessions are structured, and there's a 6-part session structure, and where we always start off with what is going well. And again, the reason for this is we want to continue to build up on all the positive changes, all the positive actions that my clients have taken the past week to keep building up on that intrinsic motivation. The second part is starting to coach around any obstacles or challenges that may have come up. Now, during this part is where some of the limiting beliefs and identity challenges are gonna come up. And I was trying to go towards my goal, but then I got scared and this happened and so and so. And then what we're gonna do is start to put strategies in place to start overcoming that. And then go back towards your goal. And then the third part is each session, again, based on the individual's goals, we're going to start tying in some new information, whether that be mindfulness practices or nutrition practices, different workouts, things of that nature. And then an experiential exercise that's always going to be related towards the information. So my clients have a chance to experiment with all the different things that we're talking about. And then from there, that's when we start creating different action steps based off of the goal again. And then to end the session, we always finish it off with ahas, insights, and appreciations about the session, where we talk about all the different things and what the client has gained from the session and how they're going to use it in the following week. And that is how coaching works to start to create lasting change in an individual in a way that is, again, going to be easy, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be a part of what that individual wants to do, not something that he or she is being told to do. And now I would like to open it up to any questions.
That was wonderful, Billy. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think, when I did the coaching with you, I think one of the things that I was most struck by was this whole idea of who do you want to be, and sort of starting with the identity, because I think so often, like when you're doing weight loss, people can throw all kinds of diets at you and exercise plans and, things like that. But then after a while, you just get tired of following them, or it's Christmas, or, something happens. And I remember being really struck that very early on, I said to you, so, how many calories a day am I supposed to eat? And you said to me, as many as you want, but who do you want to be? And I said, oh, well, yeah, who I want to be is the person who's thinner than the one right now. And you said, okay, then that's who do you want to be? So I said, so I'm lactose ice cream sundaes. And you said, who do you want to be? And and it's, it's sort of hard to hold both of those things. But every time that I was sort of tempted to do something that wouldn't be in line with who I want to be, I would just remind myself, who do I want to be? It would create this positive emotional state in myself, picturing myself as the person who had lost the weight. And then it was like all of a sudden the ice cream sundaes, positive valence, seemed much less than the positive emotion of, the person that I wanted to be.
Right. And again, it's all about tying in those positive emotions to that initial outcome of who do you want to be, and making it feel really good to take action on your steps, where it's, if you want to be fit and healthy or lose weight, then the choice is ultimately going to be up to you of what you're going to be doing. So that's why the coaching program is not only just something that is for a short-term fix, like a diet, for example, but it's something that goes a lot deeper and gets the identity piece involved of who you want to be. Well, I want to be this way. Okay, then we're going to come up with strategies to get there. And when fears come up, this is a big part, because when we're trying to reach our goals, like even for me giving this presentation, there was some anxiousness in the beginning. Doing the breathing exercises beforehand. There's a whole bunch of visualizations, mental rehearsals, getting yourself prepared mentally, and start to shift your beliefs about going towards your goals and making it feel good as opposed to scary, or I'm going to be made fun of, or I'm not good enough. And that's ultimately going to shape how we're going to act and what action that we're going to take. So tying in the identity piece, tying in the beliefs piece is a huge component towards making habits change and making change happen consistently.
I think another reason why this program is so successful in your hands is because of your ability to build relationships with adolescents and with young adults. And, one of the pieces of research that I think is really interesting around therapy is that when they look at the effectiveness of psychotherapists, the most important factor is not what degree they have, where they went to school, how long they've been doing it, what type of therapy they practice. The most predictive factor is the relationship that they're able to form with the person that they're working with. And and so I feel like we're really lucky to have the situation where we have a method that is structured and scientifically based, and the method is being carried out by somebody who knows how to form relationships with this age group. And I'm just curious if you have any sort of additional things to say about kind of the relationship piece.
No, I mean, it's a very, very important factor. And that is ultimately what is going to create that space to want to make progress, to have love, safety, and belonging all intact. And holding that for a person during a session, holding that for a person and holding them towards that higher version of themselves, all while still making it fun and making it easy and making it something that they want to be doing. That's the essence of the work. It should have all those components attached to it.
It's interesting about the relationship too, because I think when I sort of fell off the wagon at various points or was not able to do whatever the action step was for that week, I was so much harder on myself than you were on me. And me being hard on myself actually doesn't help. If anything, it would decrease the motivation. And so I think it was really helpful that when we would discuss like, okay, well, what got in the way? Why couldn't you do this? the fact that you were sort of maintaining this attitude of like, okay, well, you tried, you learned, and what will you do differently? And just sort of a light touch, which then I could sort of internalize and like, well, if he can treat me this way, why can't I treat myself this way? There's no need for me to get so down on myself. And I remember the first time I came in, having not met a step, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get yelled at. Somebody's going to be really mad. And I think that is another piece of the relationship, is like, how do you speak to yourself? And having it modeled by you of how you speak to the client is really important.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. And that's, I think, again, staying in that sort of positive emotional state, as opposed to, I failed miserably, I knew I wasn't going to be able to do this,
Right. I mean, any little hiccup, and then all of a sudden that leads to binging all mentality, to like, screw all this work that I've done, I'm just going to go and sabotage myself. And those are all things that we're going to be discussing throughout the coaching program, and coming up with strategies and ways to make it so it's effective. And when those behaviors start to come up, though, that inner rebellion that we all have inside of us starts to come up, we're going to have coping strategies in place that are not going to sabotage your health or the lifestyle or the goal that you're going after, but you can still get that inner piece of rebellion out.
Yeah, it's funny what a predictable part that is of the whole process.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was about ready to self-sabotage and go out for pizza and ice cream, that you were sort of like, yep, this is about the stage in the coaching that I would expect you to want to self-sabotage.
Yeah.
And having some other things to do besides go out for pizza and ice cream was really helpful. So Jane, I'm not sure if you're still there. I'm wondering if there's questions from the audience.
Yes, so we have a question from one of our participants. She said, great presentation. I think this could work for my 21-year-old son. What is the fee for the 12 weekly coaching sessions? I think my son would be able to establish a great relationship with Billy.
I agree. I'm sure the son could establish a great relationship with Billy.
And what was the question? The pricing?
The pricing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did not put that on here. So the pricing is $2,400 for the 12-week program, or the 90-day program.
Great. And there's another question we have from a parent who is interested in this kind of coaching for their child, but doesn't quite know if they sort of have that abstract thinking that may be required. Is there another form of coaching, or what would you recommend for somebody like that?
That's a very good question.
Maybe, can I jump in there, Billy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we also have another woman that does sort of psychoeducational counseling that's similar to coaching, and she tends to work with kids who need a more sort of concrete, more visual approach. And so, my thought would be that the child could either meet with me and I could do sort of a quick assessment of which way, because I'm familiar with both what Lucci does and also what Billy does, or the child could meet with Billy and Billy can decide if he feels like that his program would be appropriate for the child. But we do have sort of two levels at NESCA, depending on child's kind of verbal abilities, abstract thinking skills. With Billy's program, you need to be able to do some writing and, be able to learn sort of through metaphors, learn through analogies, that sort of thing. Do you want to add anything to that, Billy, or is that pretty much covered?
No, that's pretty much covered it.
Okay.
And then finally, we have another one as far as what the kind of timing looks like. When do the sessions actually take place? And how is that all structured?
All great questions. So the sessions are going to be either all via Zoom. So they're going to be online sessions, and sessions are going to typically last around 1 hour. And holding that same session structure that I mentioned earlier.
And it's not like they start at a specific time, like we're starting a new series in September. It's people can sign up at any time, and then it's 12 weeks going forward.
Yes, this is all going to be based off of an individual person, right? Because again, it's a very individualized program that is going to tie into all these different lessons towards reaching the individual's goals.
And Billy, I think it's also the case that when you've done this coaching outside of NESCA, that when people need to touch base with you during the week, you're open to texts and emails and giving people
text, emails, any sort of questions they may have about action steps, things of that nature. I'm happy to respond via cell phone or a brief phone call or something along those lines.
If they're about to order the pizza, you can help them, talk them down off the pizza ordering cliff.
Well, who do you want to be?
That's right, exactly.
All right. I think those are the questions that we have from our audience at this point. Is there anything else that either of you want to add?
No, just thank you both, Jane and Billy, for being here and making this information available to folks. And I hope parents of adolescents and young adults will consider this as, I think, a really good approach to helping kids get motivated, especially sort of post-COVID, where I think what I'm hearing from a lot of parents is that their kids have gained weight, they've gotten out of exercising habits, they're, way too much video games. And so I think, that the coaching could be a really good way to sort of pull kids, out of the ditch and get them back on track.
Great.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Anne. Thank you, Jane. And I want to thank everyone who participated today and joined the webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Great.
Take care.